in Kronos production, I've already given you four access, the same access that I have and the same access that AB has in the system. Now, while AB is also here at Tower, he does understand and know Kronos well, although he hasn't worked with Tower Kronos in a while. But once he starts to see everything, he also will be able to understand where things are. So he is on as a part of your support system once I'm totally gone from Tower. But you all have this access. I'm logged in Spanish right now, so it's going to be easier for you to navigate, because when you log in, you're going to be in Spanish. And then over here on the side, I have it in English, because sometimes I'll get a little thrown off by the way they put things in the order in Spanish in the configuration. So I'll just explain what you see in front of you. As you log in as an administrator, the normal HR users and finance will come into this view here. They'll have this quick find view.
Josie,
yes?
I don't think you're sharing your screen.
Oh, thank you. Why didn't anybody say anything? That really helps when I share.
We are waiting it to appear.
There, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
We can now.
Okay, good gracious. Okay, so I'm logged in Spanish right now, but I'll be able to, I got my other screen in English, so if I get a little lost, you're gonna see me looking that way. Okay, so the users, when they log in, they'll have this genie, which is the quick find genie. And then when they drop down, this is where they're going to see their list of other genies. So their attendance, their employee list, their payroll genies, anything that they need. They have access to this. They also have some setup, but it is not all of this setup. They can go in and create hyperfinds. So they will have setup or configuration, and then they're going to have under hyperfinds, group. Now I gotta see, now this is where it's gonna get weird for me. Common setup. I think it's right here. This is attendance.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for where it says hyperfind. See, they put it out of order when they do it in Spanish. They change the order of things. I'm looking for common setup.
Sorting.
Common setup.
Yeah.
Common setup. See, that's for the device managers.
Yeah.
Common setup. I think they do this to me on purpose. Common setup. Okay, so that's labor levels. We're looking for where it would say that's genies.
Yeah, just go slightly up. Just
labor levels.
Workforce genies are at the right.
No, I'm looking for hyperfinds though.
Oh.
Hyperfinds. It actually should say hyperfinds because I don't think there's a translation for that.
Yeah, they don't translate that.
Yeah.
It's not up.
Yeah, I'm already up.
No, that's accruals.
That's accruals. Oh my goodness. Why didn't they just keep it in the same place?
Yeah, as you said, just because of sorting.
Yeah, it's okay. So let me see. Event manager. Do you see where it says event manager? That's something that's in there. Documents. No, that's attendance.
Is that,
there it
yeah,
is there? Oh my goodness.
General configuration.
Okay, so this means to us common setup. So they will have access to this area to right here in profiles and then hyperfind. So they'll be able to see hyperfinds and they'll be able to assign them to the users. So right now, HR already has access to create hyperfinds and to assign them. So let me make sure I'm pulling on the right thing. for a hyperfind, I don't think this is where I want to be. There we go. Okay, so these are a lot of hyperfinds right here, but you will see all these because you'll have access to the Mexico hyperfinds once I assign them to you. But for example, this particular hyperfind, if we look at it, it's a query, right? So it says, give me everyone who's active as of today, who is in any of these plant. So plant 1, 2, 3, or 4, and is assigned to this supervisor. Okay, in this case, we were smart enough to name the hyperfind to whoever that supervisor is. So these are things that HR does. When they get a new supervisor in, they literally copy or duplicate one of these, and they change the supervisor name, and then they change the name of the hyperfind. So they will have access to setup, but it won't be all of this. They'll have one little section that allows them to go in and create those hyperfinds. All right, so I'm going to minimize that real quick. They will have access to group edits. Payroll is the only one who has the data integration widget. So it takes them into the interfaces that she would run for payroll. Schedule planner, they have access to, and all of these things. If they have access to it, it will be bold so that they can click on it. Reports, link, these are yours, your evacuation, on premises, things like that. Now the supervisors, when they log into the system, their view looks like this. Okay, they have a different view. This is the US view here. So it will depend on your user and how they look, how they will be able to log in. But you as an administrator will be able to get to their view, how they access the system. Okay, because you have that high level, you can access anything that they can see, anything that they can do, and anyone that they can get access to. So that is your high level access. I want to go over first to talk about labor account, because you need to understand how the employee's data sits in the system before you can understand how it's configured. So I'm just going to pull up some employees here just to get them in the view. And you're going to see that every specific person that we have is assigned to a labor account. Now, if you look at the document that I sent to you, does everyone have that in front of them? I can pull it up too. Let me pull that up real quick. Okay, can everyone see this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the labor levels are a breakup of 7 different values of data that comes from the HR system. Now, the first value, Tower decided that it was going to be area. In the case where we started going globally using Kronos, USA was going to be the value of 1. I believe that's what we have it. Let's go back over here. Yes, so USA is 1, so that's the value there, or North America is 1. And if we were going to use Kronos in another country, then that country may have been 2, and so on. So the area meant global location probably is a better word for that than country. The labor level 2, Tower has not used yet. So it is actually a value of 0. So if you see, everyone has a 0. So now here's Chicago, here's your leaders, here's Elkton, but that value of 0, it's going to be 0 for everyone because nobody uses that value yet. Plant 3 or plant labor level 3 is where it becomes specific for you all. You all have 4 plant locations, and then you have another pay group that identifies your leaders, which is MBL. So you will see in labor level 3, you have some employees in plant 2, some in 3, some in 1, and your leaders are in MBL, meaning leaders for L. Okay, so that's labor level 3. And you'll see as we go down, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right now we're on 4. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, labor level 4 is going to be one of two things. Either they're direct or they're indirect, right? Our direct people are the people who are working on the lines and that are doing that production work. Your indirect people are going to be people that are offline doing work, maybe their maintenance, maybe their facilities or things like that, but they're going to be your indirect people. All right. The fourth labor level, I'm sorry, that was the fourth. The fifth labor level is going to be the department number. Now, this is not the finance department number. This is the HR department number. So in the case of a Mexico employee, let's just filter so we can get those in there. There we go. So your department numbers start with 1M. Even if you're in plant 3, you're going to have a 1M. Okay. So you can see where it's either going to be in production, there's some department numbers for tooling, and so on. But that fifth labor level is going to be the HR department, not the finance department. The next value is the cost center, which is also known as the finance department. So when we talk about cost center, we're talking about finance department, QAD department. Okay, so those are two things you kind of got to understand when you're talking to the two different groups. You need to understand which group you're talking to so that you can call the value the same thing. Because if you talk to HR and you're talking about this value to them and you call it a department, they're automatically going to think you're talking about this value. So when you talk to HR and you want to speak to this value, it's the cost center. But if you're talking to finance and you want to talk about the departments, you're actually talking about this value, which is the cost center, which is labor level 6. It can be a little bit confusing, but it's not a tower thing. It's literally some kind of worldwide thing that it's an understanding for HR systems. There's department numbers. For finance, what they call department is really the finance department. Okay, so that was labor level 6, and the last one is going to be the job code. So the job code is the last one. You're going to be identified either by MX, and then you're going to have your value, and it's the last one. The reason that you need to understand this is if you are asked to create a hyperfind, they may say, I need you to create a hyperfind for everyone in plant 3 who is direct and who is assigned to job code MXTDMK. So you would need to understand how the labor level for each employee is assigned, and you need to know how to parse between those labor level values. There's no hierarchy in these. So just because I'm direct, it means I get all of these things. Just because I'm indirect, I get all of these things. It doesn't work like that. Whatever value that labor level is, it is what it is. So you just have to understand how the data flows into the system. Okay. Are there any questions so far on this?
No, just I remember that the M in MB is from Mexico, right?
Yes,
But the B was because A used to be Ramos plant?
yes, correct.
Hmm.
Yes, yes. Ramos took the MAs, and so you guys got the B, and if we would have picked up another Mexico facility, they would have been C, and then so on. It was a kind of a standard format that HR goes through with their different countries that they rolled out.
Okay. And the cost centers are aligned with the cost centers in QID?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so again, every employee is assigned to a labor level account based on the data that comes from your HR system. Right now, that system is PeopleSoft. Tomorrow, that system is going to be something else. And I think those are the things we're trying to work out, but this is what you need to understand. If you understand this part of it, then the rest of it should flow pretty easy. Now, and the other reason that you need to understand what these values are is because every now and then HR will want to add a job code, and you will need to go and add that job code to the Kronos system. And as a matter of fact, I have one today. So let me go find it so I can show you what I'm talking about. So here is Adriana sent an email to Mindy, and they needed a new job code, and that went to the Morales group. So this is Morales right here. This is Sochi, and she created a job code called 1216, right? So now the payroll Morales has that value. Mindy is saying that I've now have that value in PeopleSoft. So now you have to add it to Kronos. So I'm just going to actually do this right now because I have to do it, but I'll show you how easy it is to do this because this task does come up. I want to say at least maybe once a month. They'll add a new job code or they'll add a new cost center or a new department. But whatever the value is, it's a very simple add. So what I'm going to do is bounce over to production, and I'm going to do this in the Spanish version, so help me. So I'm going to go where I'm looking for organization setup. Organization setup, and I know it's not in the right place, and I saw it earlier, and I think it's on this side. Organization setup. Where did it go? It has organization labor level sets.
It's in the middle.
Right here?
That one.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I want to get to labor level entries, which is probably this one?
Which one?
Labor level entries. Probably this.
Labor.
Yes, this is
there
where
is a cost center label group.
Right. So
yeah, that one.
Yeah, labor level entries is what it says for me. So what you're trying to get to is get me to the location where all of these values that I just talked about. Get me to the area where all of these values are located and identified. So that's this area right here for you. Right. So if we drop down, here's where those labor level 1, labor level 2, labor level 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, what she wants me to do, she wants me to add a new job code. So I'm going to select job. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is look to what she wants me to add. The value is 1216. So the first thing I'm going to do to see if it exists, it's possible it exists. So I'm going to put that value in front of the asterisk, and then I'm just going to hit search. And there it is. The value already exists in Kronos, so I don't have to add it. If it didn't exist, and I'll just put in another weird number just for kicks and giggles. it would say this, the value doesn't exist. And in this case, then you just, 1216, let's just say it was 1, and then you put in the description, whatever it is, and then you would hit add. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on just a minute. Okay, I'm going to hit refresh because I don't want to save it. Refresh. Okay, but this value is already there, so I don't have to worry about adding it. So now I can go back to this email and just type in the value already exists in Kronos. You are all set. Now, what happens if this value, or if you didn't get to the email and no one did the setup, right? This is part of that setup, that configuration. What's going to happen is employees will get assigned to this job code, and when that data comes into Kronos, the employee's data won't flow into the system because you can't load employees into the system unless they have a valid account. This job code is a part of that account code. And if this value doesn't exist when an employee's job code is 1216, you'll get errors. So those errors will be in the transaction assistant area where it will say, employee from the HR load is not found. You cannot load ad hoc values. So it will keep the employee from getting either updated or entered into the Kronos system. So it's very important that number one, HR and Mindy communicate when they're adding new job codes, adding new departments, adding new cost centers, because you will have to add them here, whether it be job, cost center, department, right? Obviously that's not going to exist there, but now there is going to be a lot of departments. I think yours is 1M for departments. Yeah, so these are all your departments. So again, I searched, I put your departments start with a 1 and an M. So I just put that in front of the asterisk and then hit search. These are all your departments, your HR departments. And if you needed to add any more, excuse me, you would have did the same thing. Let's say they wanted you to add 1M CB3. Let's just say, for example, you would search for it. If it's not there, then that's where you add it here. You put, 1M CB3, put the description, and then you click add, and then save. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons, a lot of understanding of how labor levels, why they're in the system, how they determine where an employee sits in the database, and then who can see those people. The access in Kronos is specific to employee groups, and I'll show you that part right there. So labor level sets, I think. Okay, so here are labor level sets. So let me just go down to yours so it makes more sense. Okay, so if a user is assigned to MB all employees, that means that this employee can only see people in plant 1, right? Because remember,
Okay.
we've had people broken up in MB1, MB2, MB3, MB4, and MBL. If a user, like a supervisor or HR or whoever, has access to MB1 all employees, they can only see people in plant 1. Go back over here. If they have MB2, once again, they have access to the people plant 2, to plant 3, to plant 4, MB all employees. So let's look at that one. This one means they have access to all the employees at plant 1, 2, 3, and 4, but not the leaders. Right? So that's, you need to understand that when it says MB all plant employees, that means plant employees. So locations 1, 2, 3, and 4. There is one that has confidentials, and that's this one. All EMPs plus confidentials. So you'll see the plants MB1, 2, 3, 4, and MBL. There's only a few users that have this particular access. That is Martha, Hasiel, and I think all of the HR. Those are the ones. No supervisor will ever have this one. A supervisor may have all plants, depending, they might be a maintenance supervisor or facilities. So they may be over all of the maintenance at all the plants, depending on how you guys have it set up. But they could have that. But only HR and the payroll people will have access to this one. And that's to process the confidential people, because the confidentials, they don't clock in and out. All right,
Okay.
so that's the employee group. Does anyone have any questions there?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
This flow between HR, Mandy, and then Morales and IT is gonna remain the same once we migrate?
Yes, because the departments and job codes and cost centers will, well, not the cost centers, but the departments and the job codes will still get created in the HR system, which is ADP, correct, Brad? They're still going to use ADP for that, right? Did Brad drop off?
Yeah, but we are not going to use ADP. We're going to use a local application for HR.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So, but the
I don't know. We're supposed to have to ask for an interface between this new application and ADP to maintain the all the headcount in ADP.
Right.
Updated. But so that means, I guess, that the corporate is gonna control the department numbers and everything. So
right. Yes, that's why I was asking that question, hoping Brad was on the call. I know that the data, your HR data, will be maintained in your new HR system, but I think from a headcount standpoint, that in ADP they're still going to control the departments and the job codes.
okay, so
yes,
that flow is probably going to remain the same.
I think so. And then I'm going to write that down, because that's
I have made a note, Josie.
okay.
I shall let you know.
Well, so many Morales.
His point is very valid.
Yes.
They're going to have a different HR system, or they're using Kronos itself. Maybe that interface might not be required. Mandy would not be maintaining. Somebody from Mexico can maintain the departments at Mexico.
Yeah, but yeah, if I know Tower, they're going to want them to be in ADP just for headcount purposes. And then if that's the case, then they're going to want to control department and job code numbers. I would imagine. I mean, I would think that they would want that, only because it's HR and it's headcount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they have to control the department numbers.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can have or repeat the department numbers, or have another coding.
Right. Okay. So.
And I was asking this because I need that we need to explain very carefully all of this flow of information to Asael and his group, because for the emails that I saw between Ruben, Asael, and I think that Asael is thinking that they are going to do this in the future. He's thinking that HR is gonna do all of this job. So
Oh, yeah, I did see his email. They are going to take a portion of this, and that's just with the schedules, the patterns, things like that, things that they control, that they can, and those are easy things. Those are things that HR and US do now in the new e-time system. So it only makes sense to keep that function in HR where L&W put it. So, and it's okay. It's just one less thing you guys have to do, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but I just want to be
But-
sure that he's in the same understanding, because
Yes.
he's thinking that they're gonna have all of the access that you have right now.
Okay.
So-
Well, yeah, I'll clarify that. I wasn't
Yeah.
able to speak with him yet today, but I'll clarify that for him.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So that's labor levels in a nutshell. How people are assigned, how it drives the data in the system, how people are assigned in the system, and then how the access that a user has is assigned based on who they can see. You can say that, okay, you may be able to see people in plant 1, but you can only see direct people. Maybe you can't see indirect people. You guys don't do that, but I just want to let you know that there is a way to really streamline who you can see. You can do it by department, you can do it by cost center, or by job code. So all of these values, using the system here, you can tell their access, who they can see. In Towers aspect, if you have access to the plant, you have access to everyone at the plant. At a high level, if you need to see confidentials, then we're going to give you access specifically to everyone and the confidentials. Oh, you need access to everyone, but you can't see the leaders, then you're going to get this access. So using the labor level values, we're able to streamline who users can see in the system. Okay. All right.
Okay.
If you guys think of questions as you're reviewing this, as you're walking through the access on your own, again, you already have it in production. So after we do day 1 here, feel free to go in and kind of just look around and, get yourself familiar with where you're going, and just kind of, in your mind, reiterate what I'm saying here, and it'll help you understand it a little bit better. And then talk about it with each other, so you can understand it a little bit better. And then if you have more questions afterwards, just go ahead and shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to explain a little bit more on it.
Okay.
All right. So now we're going to talk about function access profile. So what that is, the function access profile tells you what you can do in the system. Not what you can see, but what you can do in the system. Functionally, can I add a pay code? Can I add a punch? Can I run a report? Can I run an interface? Can I delete something? Can I update something? Can I edit? These are functions that are in the system. So right now I'm going to switch over here, and I'm looking for access profiles. Access profiles. I would think that it would be this. Data access profiles. Let me see if this is it. Nope. I'm in the wrong area. Function. Here it is, access profiles, right? Yep, okay. So your access profiles is over here. In English, it's the first area over here. So if you ever go in English, it's not going to be over here. It'll be like at the top. Okay, so we're going to review function access profiles. Now, as I state in the document, there are a lot of them that are in the list. So if you look here, you're going to be like, oh my God, there's a lot. That has 3 pages full of function access profiles. anything, and I'll just say this now, in all throughout the configuration, as you're looking through it, if you see anything with the X in front of it, that means that it's no longer used. Okay, that's what that means. So, but we're going to look at yours specifically. I kind of outlined it here so you don't have to, try to figure out what you use, what you don't use. These are the 5 function access profiles that are specific to Mexico. Obviously, super access is what all of you all have as IT, and then myself and AB. No user is going to have this specific access. The 2 people that have this access are going to be Martha and Mario. That is because Martha is the one that does the sign off for payroll. And if she's not there, then Mario has access to do it. The sign off for payroll is pretty much locking all of the time cards so no more edits can be made. Once that is done, that's when Josefina will process the payroll files and send them. But Josefina will notify them when she's ready to have the data signed off. This function here is the only one that gives them that access to do that. All of these other functions, don't allow them to do that. Okay? So that was Tower, corporate, payroll, no time. Okay, so that's this one right here. So let's just look at that. So if I click on it to edit, it's going to show you all of the things that a user can or can't do. So if they're able to do it, it's going to say allow. If they can't do it, it's going to say disallow. So you'll see in Spanish, that's what it's saying over here for you. We don't use this particular one. No one is a workforce employee. You're either a department manager, and some have configuration. So some will have, allowed or disallowed.
Okay.
Okay. These are all set. It will be rare. I don't believe you will ever have to come here and change any of these. But you need to know where it is if there comes a time where you need to edit. Okay, so I kind of gave you a little list here. If someone new comes into the system or into Tower Mexico, maybe they hire a new finance director or something, and maybe they replace one of these, or maybe they become part of this team. So they want to have that person be able to be another person that can sign off. Then when you assign their access, they're going to get Tower corporate, payroll, no time card, edit, FAP function.
Yeah, and there is a third one that it says allow, disallow, and I don't know if it is several or some.
Yeah, various.
Various.
Yes, various means. So let's take for example, this at a high level is telling you that there are functions in here that are allow and disallow. When I look at, yes, when I look at this, this area has nothing. They're prohibited from doing anything. But if I expand on this, then it will show me which one are allowed and which one are disallowed, right? This one has various, meaning there's more information underneath it. So if I expand on that one, see how some things are allowed and some things are disallowed.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why you'll see that as you continue to expand and expand, the various means whatever that one that you're looking at, that line, there are things that they can or cannot do in underneath that value.
Okay.
Okay.
So these profiles are aligned with the SRF for Kronos?
Yes. Yes. So if we go to an SRF right now, then we got to go to IT. And if we go to SRF under PeopleSoft Kronos, and if we look at that, Kronos only. So here, if we scroll down and we pick Mexico, all plants. So here's plant 1, plant 2, whoops, whichever plant they need. And let's say it is a team leader, right? Or HR or finance or whatever. So here, they were supposed to, other explanation below. So you would put Mexico, oops, if I can spell right. Oy. Supervisor only. So you would put something like that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. They really should have added it already. It used to be there. I don't know why it's not there anymore. It's kind of weird. But it should have said exactly like this. Tower Mexico Supervisor, Tower Plant Finance FAP, Tower Plant Mexico HR. But it's always a good idea. If it's not, I mean, even if you select Tower Supervisor, you know, you can put down here Mexico Supervisor only. These things should go to you. They wouldn't go to the IT support center. They would go to you.
Yeah.
Your group.
And we are going to be the only users of this SRF
Yes.
in the future. So I'm gonna ask Brad if we can edit this to have
Make
only
it
the
simple.
profiles. Yeah, because if we're gonna keep it with all of this information, is not going to be very clear.
No, yeah, no, it's not. I would think that an email from the area HR, so the HR from plant 1, plant 2, emailing it to you all would be the ticket, and they would just say this person needs supervisor access or this person needs finance access. I would think it should be that simple.
Yeah.
Because once they're in Kronos, right? Once they're in here, there is a report that you can run that will show you who all the users are.
Yeah, exactly.
So, right. So if we go to data integration under interfaces, there's an interface. There's an interface that you can run. Is this my run or is this my run?
This one.
This one?
That one. The second one.
This one is run?
Run, yeah. Ejecutar.
I forgot. You know, I used to know all these words when I was there. I just totally forgot all my words.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking on the SRF because let's say that somebody asks for access to Kronos, and then we're gonna fill this SRF, then send it to Asael, I assume. Once he approves the SRF, then we need to process the SRF in Kronos, right? So
yeah, but the SRF that thing is so
so tower.
It's so tower. Make it simple for yourself. Honestly, make it simple. You're gonna know. See, so this is what that one interface does. It tells you who has access, what type of access, what location, their ID, their IMPL ID, and the last time they logged on.
Yeah, so, I think that we can simplify it, but I think that it would be better for us to keep the same process because otherwise people is going to start asking just I need the access right now. So no authorizations, no.
Right now.
Nothing. So I think that if we keep this process
Yeah,
All right.
well, I would say the access request needs to come from an HR.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
can't come from a finance or a plant manager or just the supervisor themselves. It should always come from the HR.
Yeah, and they need to fill the SRF,
Yeah,
and then we can process it, and somebody has to
Yeah.
approve the SRF and everything. So
yeah,
we're going to keep the same process, but yes, we need to simplify the SRF because it has a lot of information that we are not going to use.
right. Yeah, you're either going to have one of these four. The majority of them are going to be this one, Mexico supervisor. They're going to need that access, right?
Yeah.
You rarely get new HR. It's seldom you get new finance people, but you always get new supervisors. Or a supervisor may move up and become a finance person. Who knows? But at
Yes.
least you know these are those are the values that you're going to use. You're going to see a lot of them here, right? If we go back to the beginning, where's my here? There. You're going to see a lot of them here, right? Some of these are delivered, and some of them, obviously, that have tower in front of it are ones that we've created. So here's your Tower Mexico. Mexico Finance, Mexico HR, and there's the other one that was on the previous page. Okay, so if you need to just, again, click on it, take a look, see what they have access to do. Again, that function access profile says what they can do in the system, right? There's one called super access. This is what we all have. And if you open it up and look, it's got a lot of things in it, right? All. That says all, right? No.
Yeah.
What does that say?
It's allow.
Allow. Okay, so allow meaning everything under here is allow. Everything under here and here is allow. Under these is various. And it's because we don't use the system to the full extent of its capabilities. So there are some things we just don't need access to, right? But that's what we have.
Okay.
All right. So now I'm going to go to accrual profile. This is going to be very easy for you. The accrual is what your vacation policy. It's your vacation policy. So let's go find that. I think I saw that over here somewhere. Activities. This is it right here, accruals?
No.
No.
Can you go up?
That's activities. This is attendance.
No, I think it's up.
That's clocks. Right here?
No.
This,
the top one. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I see it.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. All right, so accruals. When you click on the very top one, and I probably should explain it that way. All of these configuration areas, this is how Kronos does their configuration. You configure from the bottom value all the way up. It's how they describe it as the building blocks, right? You don't start from here and create something and go down. You start from the bottom and you create all the way up. So if I click on this, I'm going to see all of the profiles that are assigned to the different plants that Tower has. We've got Auburn and Bardstown and on down. This is yours, right? If I do high level, I can see what accrual policies are assigned to this profile. You all are pretty easy. You all have one accrual policy, and that's vacation, right? So if I click on that, I don't need to, do it really, but I'll just show you. This is how this is assigned. So for this policy or profile that is assigned to all your employees, they all get this policy for vacation. So let's go look at that policy. Once again, when you click on it, because you got access to everything, you're going to see all this. You're like, oh, I don't want to even look at any of those. I just need to get to mine. So you're just going to go down, and it must be on page 2. There it is right there. So this accrual policy is in days and not hours. It's not in money. So you'll see that you can set an accrual up different kind of ways. It can be in hours, it can be in money, or it can be in days. Your vacation policy says that your allotment is in days. So when a value of 1 is in a time card for an employee, it's not 1 hour, it's 1 day. This is the actual accrual that's used to assign in the time card, right? So when you take a vacation day, right, they're going to use one of these values in the time card. And it's going to trigger this accrual, right? Every year, based on your years of service, this is how many days you're going to get. Now, the only time this will change is if Tower Mexico changes their policy. Right now, this is a policy that was given to me back in 2016 as we set up the system. So if Haciel comes back and says, okay, we got to change it, you know, if you're 1 year, now you get, I don't know, 15 days or whatever, this is where you're going to make that change to the policy. Okay?
Okay.
This is 1 year gets 6 days, 2 years gets 8 days, 3 years gets 10 days, and so on and so forth. Let's say they go down to, you know, if somebody's been there for 50 years, maybe they want to put something for that. Then you're just inserting a row by hitting that little insert button there.
Okay.
Okay. So the rollover limit, that's what this means. You all get to roll over your vacation time. So that's why this value is set to 999, right? It just means whatever the max, whatever they have in their vacation accrual, when their allotment comes up to grant the new accrual, just roll over what they have and add it to that new balance. Okay, that's what, yep, that's what that means. These are the 2 pay codes that are used in the time card to debit this accrual. So you're either getting vacation in advance or you're using a vacation day as you're using it, right? So that's why you have 2 pay codes here. So HR is going to enter one of these 2 in the system and it will debit from your vacation accrual.
Okay.
Okay. And the rest of this is pretty, you know, you got to use it in day increments, 1 day at a time. And you can't, you know, you can't go over. So let's say somebody only has 5 days of vacation. If HR enters in 5 days of vacation, they try to enter 1 more row for vacation, the system will give them an error and say, you know, no more days allowed. They can't go beyond what they use, what they're allowed, what they're granted.
Okay.
Okay, so this is pretty simple. This is the accrual. Okay, so if you're looking at a time card, so let's just go to, let's pick on somebody. Let's just pick on this person here. I'm just going to go into their time card real quick. And in the time card is the accrual tab. We're going to click on that. This employee's accrual balance has 3. So let's just do for the current week, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So where was my pay code? I'll go look now. Okay, so if I say here, okay, if I say 1, all right, and then on this day, I'm not saving any, oops, I'm not going to save anything. I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about, where you can't go beyond what it's trying to give you. Okay, that's another one. So now this is 3 days already, right? So if I just try to, oops, I gotta put a 1 in there, sorry. All right, if I just calculate the totals, it's gonna say, yeah, that looks good. But if I try to do one more day, right, he only has 3. If I try to do one more day, the system is set up to disallow it. So if I hit calculate, see what it says?
Yeah.
Overdrawn by 1, you can't do it. So the system is smart enough to know that it can't be done. So I just refreshed the page and then we didn't save anything. Okay. So I'm going to close out that time card and go back over here. So that's accruals. Do you have any questions here?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to device manager review. Now this area is a lot to review, but I at least want to go over some things with you because right now we don't know how that's going to look. We know you're going to have clocks, right? But we don't know if Kronos is going to manage the setup and the configuration of that, or they're going to give it to you to manage, right? So
yeah.
so that's a good question, but I'll once we figure it out, if they say, nope, we're just gonna give you the clocks, you manage it, you maintain it, you set it up, you configure, then, we'll come back and do some more, obviously training on this, because it's quite a, it's a thick one, but for now, we'll just go over it and review. So here it is right here, configuring the terminals. Once again, all of these building blocks are from the bottom up, right? But when we go to review anything, when we go to review reports, when we go to review genies, when we go to review access profiles or pay codes, pay rules, labor level stuff, we have to start from the top down because we have to see what that specific value is made up of. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So for this quick example, I'm going to start from the top, and I'm going to investigate what that specific terminal group is made up of. So if I click here, we've got a group for each of our plants, and here's yours. So if I click on this, I will be able to see everything moving downward on the building block. I know now that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or is that 6? That's 6 clocks that are assigned to your clock group called Mexico City 1. And now I can see what their clock group names are. All right. 2 at Santa Cecilia, the 4 at Vejo. Now, if I want to see how these are configured specifically, then I'm just going to keep going down the pay group. So here's the different terminals. If I want to look to see how these are configured, then I'm just going to pick one and look at it, right? The model number is in touch. The profile configuration is assigned to this. If I drop down on this, there are some for Greenville, some that are just the standard in touch, but yours is assigned to this piece of configuration. Okay, and then there's the IP address for it. Let's say that something happens at your plant and you have to give it another IP address. Maybe, I don't know, in the new system, you move clocks around and you have to give them new IP addresses. Here's where you assign the IP address. All right. So we know that all of this information is assigned for this clock. If I go to the next clock, okay, I'm gonna have to click over here real quick and refresh, return. This is return, right?
Yeah, return.
If I look at another clock, it's going to be the same setup here, but my IP address is different.
Yeah. We have 8 clocks. We have one for a spare part.
Yeah.
And we have another one that is disconnected because they moved some presses, and we are waiting for HR instructions on where we are going to install that one.
Oh, okay. Well, then that'll be good, because when that actually happens, what you're going to do is come here. Let me see, return. Okay, so let's say that you need to add another clock. So right now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that are online, that are actively being used. Let's say HR comes to you tomorrow and says, okay, we want to put clock XYZ here, so we need to add it. And so you got the IP address, you got everything that you need. All you need to do is come here, copy any one of these and say duplicate.
Okay.
From here, you're going to give it the ID, whatever that ID is. You're going to rename it to whatever you need to name it to. We're using that. And these two values are going to be the same, because all of your clock has these two the same, correct?
Correct.
Then you just put the new IP address here. Whatever that IP address, you put it there, and then you just save and return.
Okay.
Once you've added it there, I'm just going to hit refresh, return, say okay. Once you have it, you're going to see the new clock here. Now you have to go add it to your group. So you're going to go back to your Mexico City 1 group. You'll see it here. Okay. Because you've enabled it, and then you're just going to pipe it over so it's in this side, in your selected side.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we're at this part here. So here was the one that we used in your setup. There's Meridian, there's all these things, but your setup used this guy here. So once again, if you needed to copy it to do something different, then you're just duplicating. But right now we're just going to edit it to see what it has. And obviously, the further we go down on the building blocks is where you're going to see the rest of the configuration, right? You will most likely not have to do all this reconfiguration. If they're going to put you on the latest and greatest, we're 8.1.2, and that's I think they're on 8.1.6, maybe 8 now. It depends, but it's going to be pretty close. They don't do too many changes when it comes to device management. It's very seldom that they make drastic changes here. Do you agree, AB? Oh, maybe AB left.
Yes. Okay. You're right. I know.
Yeah.
I put on mute so that.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Outer noises will come.
Yeah. So again, all of the rest of the building blocks, as we start to drill down in these values, you're going to see more. So from a support standpoint, if there's something wrong with an IP address, or maybe something got blown out and you got to give a new IP address, well, you don't have to say, oh God, where is that? Because now the IP addresses are not assigned anywhere down here. It is directly when you set up the clock, right? All of these other things, as we start drilling down, are going to be inside of that previous value, and now we've got all these other values that we can look at. The keys are pretty important, the configuration, all of these things you're going to see here. So let me just go to keys right here. Everyone's got their keys, but these are yours, right? And the reason that yours are different is because we want your information to be in Spanish for your clocks. So we're giving the value for what people can see. You guys I don't think you guys even have your employees look at their vacation at the clock, or they don't even have points, and they don't use personal time, so they wouldn't even use them. So this right there, it's there at your clock, but I don't think anyone uses it. But you can see once again, within another piece of configuration, there's more configuration settings, right? So if we were starting from scratch, if this was a totally new Kronos system and we had to do things from scratch, we would start from these values and go all the way up, developing them, creating them, adding them. Okay, I've got this now. I probably have to add something from down here. I've got this now. I probably have to add some of these things to it. So from the bottom up is how we create things. When we have to investigate, it's top down. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not going to go too much into the clocks yet because I'm not quite sure how we're going to move forward in that. But once that's decided, then we'll come back to this part here and look a little bit more.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
Either.
What I want to look at is the Genie review. So the Genies, now I got to find that one. This is pay rules. That's that. Configuration general. This is Genies, right? Yep, it is. All right. So Genies. These are the Genies over here. So when I talk about Genies, I'm talking about these things. So let's just go and look at a few. Reconcile time card. So I'm going to pull up a group of your employees. Let's just do this one. So this particular Genie allows me to see data at an instant. It's not a report. A lot of users will call these reports. They're not reports, so you can print them off and then it can be a piece of paper and you can call it a report. But when you use the information, it is as of that moment. Whatever's in the database at that moment, that is what's going to flow into the system, into this page view. So in this case, reconcile time card, this Genie allows me to see the name, the employee ID, if they have any absences, if there's overtime, if it's approved, if it's not approved, their schedule group, and then so on. I see certain pieces of data in this Genie based on the time I select, right? The current week, the previous week. Based on the time that I select, the data will change, right? Because I'm telling it to change time, that means that data is going to change. If I change the hyperfind, I'm no longer going to see Irma because now I'm going to select a different supervisor. So using the Genie, what do I want to see, with who I want to see, and what time period, my when, right? That is what the whole thing encompasses, calls a Genie, right? If I switch to pay period close, this is the one that Josefina uses. This is a huge, huge Genie, and she would use it with, let's just say, I'll just pull, oh, there's nobody in that group, that's right. I'll just go down, all active. This particular Genie is going to show employees and their pay data, how many regular hours they have, if they have any overtime, if they use the COVID code, vacation, faltas, any other bonus, any type of pay that they're going to get. This is how Josefina comes through and realizes the time for the week, right? This is very high level information, but this Genie and who I need to look at and what time period, right? That's what this particular Genie is going into. There's so many of them. If we scroll down, there's so many different Genies, and that's because you need to understand what you need to see. I mean, HR is going to come to you, or finance, and they're going to say, you know what? I need a Genie that shows me the employees, what schedule they're in, what department, finance department they're in, and how many hours they work that are just regular, not overtime. And you could say, well, you know, there's a genie out there called pay period close. You could probably use that. They might say, oh, that's really too busy. I just want a few things in it. You know, there's a couple things you can say, well, you can select them and you can export it to CSV to Excel, and then you can just pull apart what you want, right? It gives them everything that was in this genie. And then they can just delete the columns that they don't want to see, right? They can do that. But if it's somebody like Ruben, right? Ruben might say, nope, I want a new genie. Can I just have a new genie, please? You say, yep, you can have whatever you want, Mr. Ruben. So that's where you're going to come to this area. And you're going to either develop a new one or you're going to just copy in and delete what you don't need. These are the building blocks. Once again, you go from the bottom up. Here are the genies that are assigned. So if I'm a finance person, I'm getting this one. If I'm management, which is HR, I think I actually assigned everyone the Mexico management, and the supervisors get this one here. I think all of the HR, finance, and whoever, I think I just give them all this one. And all the supervisors get this one. I think I made it simpler. I know I have one for finance here, but I don't think anyone's using it. So this is called the display profile. The display is what you see. Now remember, our function access profile said what we can do, right? Can we delete? Can we edit? Can we add pay codes? That's your what you can do. Your access, the labor levels, you know, do I have access to plant 1? Do I have access to plant 2? Is your who you can see, right? Your display profile, your genies, are what you can see. What do you need in your genies, right? So let's go look at some of those. So I'm just going to come, let's see, I think it's hard for me to tell which one I'm looking at. Oh yeah, here they go. Okay, so let's look at pay period close, the one that we were just looking at. Let's say that this is the one that Ruben said he wanted, but he doesn't want half of the information there. He only needs a few things. So we're just going to look at that real quick. Whoop, I went to the wrong thing. Sorry. Hold on just a minute. It's hard for me to tell. I think this is it. It must be it because it's taking a second to come through. This one right here is it's a pretty big genie, but it takes a minute for them to come through. Okay, so here's all the specific genies, and I'm gonna go find pay period close, which is here. And I'm just gonna edit it. So I'm gonna click on it. So here it is. All of those columns that we looked at, so all of these here. See, we've got name, their payroll, their amount. We've got all these things up at the top, all of these columns. This is how you design that, right? This is how you do that. This is my genie, and I'm telling it I need the person's name. I need the person's ID. I only want it to be a small little column. I don't want it to be huge, so I'm going to set it at a 50. I need all of these things. I need their schedule. I need their payroll. I need to know the pay code. Which pay code? It's going to be the regular one. And I have to tell it which pay code? The regular hours, the overtime hours, the unapproved, the denied. So as it goes all the way down. So this is how you're creating that genie. Right now, if he says, you know what, I need one, I need it to do the same thing, but I don't need all of this. I just need the first, I don't know, 5 columns or maybe the first 7. Then what you would do is very quickly is duplicate this here, and then you can just delete, and just delete it all, rename it, Ruben's Genie, or whatever you want to name it. And then you have to just go up the building blocks and just duplicate and replace. So in this case, this is the name of that genie. Then we're coming, I believe, is it this one? Nope. This one? Nope.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for, oops, I'm looking in my English side. I'm looking for detail. Detail.
That one.
This is
Detail
there it is.
information.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so then you would say, okay, I'm going to duplicate that one because that's the one I originally duplicated for the building block underneath. So you'd do that and you'd call it, Ruben's Genie. Ruben's Genie. And then you would say, okay, I'm going to go select the new genie that I created called Ruben's Genie. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's once again, because everything is established, you don't have to recreate anything. What am I doing? There you go, refresh. You don't have to recreate anything. The detail are down here. This is what is specifically in that genie. In the roll-up genies, in the schedule genies, in the detail genies. Detail means name, employee ID, and all their data. Group genies, roll-up genies are department, regular, overtime, double time, at a department high level. We don't care about the names. We don't care about the employee liveries. I want to know in this department, in this cost center, in this plant. Okay, so those are your roll-up genies. And then you have your detail. Once you create it, then you go your next building block up and you assign it to a detail genie. These detail genies get assigned to profiles. Okay, so if I was to look at the standard profile for supervisors, these are all of the genies that are assigned to them. Right? We don't worry about giving them all these other ones because they probably don't need them. So every group has their assignment of their workforce genie. Super Access, this is the one that we all have. And then HR and payroll all have all of these. Now, if a supervisor has access to, pay period close, that's not a security issue because again, their function access profile identifies what they can do, right? It's the function access profile is the most important profile of the system because that drives what they can do in the system. Can they sign off? Can they make historical edits? Can they do things in their time card? Well, clearly we don't want people, logging in and putting in fictitious data. So we have to identify what they can and can't do in the system. And then obviously, as we go up to these processes, everything is assigned to one display profile. Okay, now let's pull it all together and let's look at someone. So I'm going to go back up and let's look at we'll look at Adrian. Okay, so we'll pick on Adrian. We're going to go to the people editor. This is how you go for the security. So you highlight a person and you go to the people editor using this go to. That says go to, right? What does that say? What does this say right here?
Yeah, go to.
Go to? Go to. Okay. So in the people editor is where all the information comes in as it is applied to an employee from an HR standpoint and from a security standpoint, right? So their user information, which is here, this is where you're going to assign their user ID. This part right here is for tower. Everyone is assigned to the network ID, right? However, when we go to this new system, it may be something else. It may be that you're going to assign them their own password and then you give it to them and you make them change it as they come in.
Yeah, they mentioned that.
Yeah,
that
so
they
that
can
would be
do a single sign-on. I don't
right.
know how, but
Or LDAP.
Sorry.
Or LDAP something, you know.
Yeah, or something. Yeah. So either way, once we figure that out, we'll come back to that. But right now, everyone is set to the network. So you would just use NT, so that when they go to log into Kronos, it's their user ID and their AD password. You would do that there. Here is where we assign that function access profile. This is how we're telling the system that this user, what can they do in the system? Are they in HR? Are they finance? Are they a supervisor? Are they that person that can look at time cards but can't edit, but they can do a sign off? Okay, so that's specific. So you need to know, what they are based on the SRF, and then you're making that assignment. Here is that display profile, those genies. What genies, what visuals is this employee supposed to have as a user? Are they management or are they a supervisor? Okay. Obviously, you want everyone to log in and see in Spanish in their own native language, so you're going to choose Spanish. If they say, you know what, I want to start using English, then just don't select anything. And it'll be English when they log in, but we want everyone to be Spanish, right? These are all going to be as they are here. This right here, we want he doesn't, I wonder why he has that. Adrian is still HR, isn't he? Yes, I think he is.
sorry.
Yeah, Adrian is HR.
Yeah, it's
But
HR.
only payroll, only Josefina is the one that has access to do the interfaces. So even though this says Tower Mexico for supervisor, that doesn't limit them to what they can do as an HR. This just means what integration interfaces they have access to. And obviously, we don't want HR to have any of the payroll interfaces, so that's why they have this. So that's why you see that.
Okay.
Under general, this is where we're telling the system what employees they can access. Okay, what employees they can access. In this case, Adrian can only see all the plants, but there's one thing that he can't see, and what is that?
The leaders.
The leaders, correct. He's got MB all plant, so he can see everyone in plant 1, 2, 3, and 4, but he cannot see the leaders. And I think the only one that can see the leaders is in HR is Adriana and Hasiel. I think those are the only two, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so labor level set, all the labor levels that they need access to, they have access to. Here is really, really specific. Only HR and payroll should have the HR pay codes to view and to edit. All the supervisors are going to have the other one, which is MB supervisor. No supervisor should have an HR pay code access profile for view or for edit. They should all have supervisor. The HR and payroll will just have HR. Really should say HR and payroll, but I think I got a little lazy there for some reason. Work rules are work rules. We'll go over theirs. That's something we're going to talk about tomorrow. Is pay rules, and that's a whole day thing on its own. So we won't even talk about that. But there's an assignment there, and this is the assignment for the reports, and we'll go over that. But as you can see, all of the configuration that we would be doing for all of these things comes together in a user's access specific to them. Okay. For the schedules, we've always had it that every user can see all of their shifts, all of their patterns, all of their schedule groups. So you will see, all the schedule groups, all the shift patterns, all the pattern templates. You, as a super user, will see all of towers. So once we look at that, I think we're doing that either tomorrow. Yeah, we're doing that tomorrow with HR, because this, the creation of shifts and patterns and schedules is going to go to them, but the assignment of it to a user will go to you. Right? As you create user accounts, you're going to say they can have these things here. There is another area here. I'll just show you really quick. Let's see. I think. Oh, I'm going to have to really learn these.
Immediately.
I tell you what, it's here we go. There we go. Look at me. Yay. Okay. So we just looked at an employee and we talked about shift templates. So here's the shift template configuration. So for your shift template, what you just assigned to Adrian, he can see all of these shifts. A shift is one day. So one day from 10:30 p.m. to 6:30 the next day. One day from 10:30 to 7 a.m. These are shifts. Okay. The pattern, right here. The pattern is how they use that shift within the week. 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. That's a pattern. These specific days I'm working these hours. 8 a.m. to 5:30 Monday through Friday. It's a pattern. You all have special groups that work 12 hours, depending on the day, as it rotates through the week. So those special groups are called Group A, B, C, and D, based on when they work and when they start. So, and they haven't used them in the last, I want to say, 5-6 months. But I have a feeling once you guys ramp up again, you're going to start using these groups. So they really need to understand it so they can just own it and maintain it, right? And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I'm going to show them how they're going to create shifts and then patterns. Okay. There's schedule groups. Schedule groups are very simple for you guys. You guys have not gone away from your basic groups here. These are, besides the group ones, the rest of them were created back in 2016 and you've never added any more. So you guys are pretty simple that way. So that one is actually going to be very simple for you. We added these like in the last year and a half. But our other facilities, they add schedule groups like, I don't know what. All right.
Okay.
Right. So we'll stop there. Again, it's a lot of information, I know. But I don't want to talk about too much in a day. I like you to, go over it back in your head, take your time, navigate through Kronos, because you have the access, and just kind of go through and, and if you have any questions, just bring them up or write them down so we can look at them when we have time during the next few sessions that we have.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Are you guys still alive? David, Nancy, Nestor?
They are like, but scared.
They're scared.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
We will meet again shortly.
Yeah, tomorrow.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Yep, bye.
Have a good lunch. Have a good lunch.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.